an ordinary biography is difficult enough. If we're thinking about someone like Ezra Maas, the fact that he was so very invested in his own fictionality and so many multiple narratives circulating about him means that it's even worse, I guess, in terms of uncovering the truth, if we ever can uncover the truth. He was incredibly influential to all manner of writers and artists during the 20th century, and you get fleeting glimpses of his importance and how he influenced other artists. I was working on goth subcultures actually, and I came across Ros Williams, who is a singer in a rather problematic, I think we should say, band called Christian Death, who were kind of operating in the 1980s. And Ros Williams had a partner called Ron Athy, and Ron was a performance artist on the kind of the LA arts scene in the 1980s. And Ezra Maas originally kind of emerged very much as a kind of figure in the background, a very shadowy figure in some of the records of the performances that Ron Athy was undertaking. So he used to be on stage taking, he'd eat roadkill on stage, so very challenging performances, and he once took Ros Williams, crucified him, and slashed the palms of his hands. So Ezra Maas was kind of present at some of these events, but it's a very kind of, the records are very evasive. So I certainly don't envy Daniel James as a researcher, because I think also when we're thinking about the character of Daniel James more generally and his notoriety, it's to me really interesting because he's very invested in several other different literary tropes and characters himself. So I think of figures like Hemingway, figures like Jean Rhys even, so James Joyce, that kind of also that kind of idea of detective fiction, not just postmodern detective fiction like Paul Auster, but detective fiction more generally. It's very heavily invested in that kind of style, I think. In my research, he's very much a kind of absent centre, because he's evasive. If you've got a figure with multiple identities, it's very difficult to draw all those strands together. I find myself thinking that if such a thing were possible, he's very much a postmodern romantic hero. So he's brilliant, he's charismatic, but he's also dangerous. It's dangerous to get close to him. So it reminded me of Lady Caroline Lamb's statement about Byron, that he's mad, bad and dangerous to know, and I think that's probably a useful summary of Ezra Maas. It wouldn't surprise me if Ezra Maas had embedded all manner of kind of clues in his work to kind of suggest his return. He seems like the kind of figure that would be playful in that respect. It kind of reminds me of David Lynch's approach to Twin Peaks and that idea of, 25 years I will return and that kind of thing. And I suspect there's a lot of clues in the work that suggest that this isn't the end, really.